Go live. All right, cool. We're live on YouTube. We are live here on the Discord. Let me get my screen sharing started in Discord as well. All right, I think we're ready to rock, folks. Let me get over here to the chat. What's up, Turtle Trader? Good morning to you. What's up, New Trader? Theta Cartel. Good to see you. Hope you're doing well also. All right, so let's dig in. Let's take a look at the markets. We'll go through some trade plan recaps. And then, of course, we'll work on some new trade plans together right after. Let me just get this out there. Copy link. All right. So, let's take a look at things here this morning. What are we looking at here in the markets? And then we'll get to some trade plan recaps. And of course, we'll work on some new trade plans here live together this morning. So, what are we seeing here in the markets? And again, let's zoom out. I shared some of this in the chats the other day. I know I talked about this, I think, on Tuesday's live stream. But again, just to kind of reiterate this a little bit, um, if we zoom out on what we're seeing with the markets, if we zoom way out, let's go to the weekly chart here. I just want to, again, make sure that everybody's kind of following what I'm seeing, so it's not like, oh, you just made that up, or why would you ever say that, blah, 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 blah. So if we look at, it's kind of really two trend lines, and if you get really dialed in, they both hold up kind of really well. They're super tight together, but it's sort of like an area of support, or was, in this trend line. So again, that's been taking us up to the current all-time highs, going all the way back to May of last year. And we've been riding that channel, holding it pretty well. Some good bounces off it, so it's definitely a confirmed channel. We've got our minimum 3 touches. In fact, we've got about 4 that took us all the way up here. But again, last week we saw a candle close below. This week we're seeing this back test candle rejecting any trend tests that we've seen so far this week. So again, this all has me kind of leaning a bit bearish. I think we could be heading into a corrective phase in the markets, and where we would see things, potentially pull back a good bit. And I think, honestly, that's a good thing. I think it'll create some really good buying opportunities. I'm not, calling for the end of the world or anything like that. I'm not saying it's, a recession, or going to make any kind of grandiose claims like that. But what I will say is, from a technical standpoint, we've broken the trend and we've back tested and rejected it. So I don't see a whole lot that would keep us from pushing a bit lower before we start to see a real bounce and a retest of this weekly supply zone. Again, I'm perfectly capable of being wrong. The market is known for humbling folks on a regular basis, but I think, from a technical chart analysis standpoint, this is pretty sound analysis. So, where would we be potentially looking for a dip buyer to catch? Start loading back into equities, big picture, and just buying and holding stuff, even if the dip continues. I know I hit it, info line right here. So if we're looking at about a 10% correction, or what I really wanted to see was, what would take us down to the bottom of this weekly demand zone, which I think is going to be a pretty strong one. There's a lot of confluences down here. But the long story short is, we have this strong weekly demand. The bottom of that weekly demand is right here at a weekly support and resistance level. You can see where we had that small quick rejection, then we broke over, double bottom, back tested, and then it was on up from there. So this 63.57 I think could be a pretty key level on this pullback. And again, it's also at the bottom of that weekly demand zone, and that would equate to pretty close to about a 10% correction in the markets, which I think is, probably pretty reasonable. Do I think we ultimately finish the year in the green? I think there's, a good chance that it's still overall a positive year for the indexes. But again, I think we just need to be willing to, take a less than ideal position, or I guess basically be willing to say, listen, technically market's designed to go up. We're, generally speaking, it's buy the dip market, but from what I'm seeing right now, it certainly looks like we may be shifting that. We talked about this yesterday, talked about selling the rips. And of course, unfortunately, I had a lot going on, and I responded to a DM instead of putting something in the chat, which is what I should have done. We had that rip up to about 689 yesterday, and that's right where, we had some key resistance, and sure enough, that rejected and dumped down going into the close yesterday. So if we take this a little bit closer in here on the hourly chart, again, right here, yesterday, up against that 333 SMA here on the hourly chart. That's what dropped us down. Took us down to this weekly support that's trying to hold here pre-market, but yeah, I'm skeptical is what I would probably say about how well that holds with, all the other factors that we just discussed. So anyway, that's kind of a quick market overview. I hope that that's helpful. Let's get to some, we can check on FIG for sure. Let's get to our trade plan recaps, and then we'll work on some of these new trade plans. I guess FIG will be on the list. What's up, YB? Good to see you. What's up, Checker, Crypto Painter? Good to see y'all here. Thanks for joining. Hope you're doing well. All right, so good morning. So pins we've got here, they had reported earnings before we did our analysis on this, which was this past Tuesday, so just a couple of days ago. Yesterday it did give us a break above, back test and bounced off that 1606 level. So, it's starting to look like it could be building an upside move. My concern here is, again, it's in kind of this selling pressure bearish flag on NTS post that earnings report. And again, markets overall looking a little bit shaky to me. Definitely looking like we could see a deeper pullback sometime over the next couple of months. But again, pins looking, if we're following the trade plan strictly to the letter, looking like it wants to make a push for the upside. So keep a close eye on it. But again, I'd be cautious getting too heavy on, positions that are pointing to the upside. I think we'll see bounces, dead cat bounces. I think we'll see volatility. Things will go up and down. So there's going to be a lot of opportunities, but just be mindful again of the overall kind of market structure, what we're seeing there. All right, and MU, we also did, I thought we did this on Tuesday. Maybe I just forgot to mark. Yeah, we probably did. I probably just forgot to mark right here. PayPal trade line, we'll take a look. I can go take a look at PayPal. You think we found the bottom for silver? Will we go lower? I can take a look and we'll figure that out. So Micron, MU, we had this trade plan put in place on Tuesday. Definitely gave some interesting signs of a possible breakdown here, but these memory names have been super strong, super resilient. Was also inside some buy pressure here on NTS. Ultimately yesterday it just ripped out of the gates and put us above the call entry, and now we're back testing and finding some support there. So MU could show some relative strength here. It also broke out above this downtrend. So like I said, MU could show some good relative strength here to the market and may make a push through some of our price targets. It certainly looks like it's setting up for that. Also, I mean, you can't get a more picture perfect bullish pennant right there. So MU looking bullish, looking like it wants to continue to the upside off of our call entry. Keep an eye on it. Silver, so here you go. Do I think silver is bottomed? I think it's to be determined still. Going to your question there, Crypto Painter, and the reason why I say to be determined still is it's definitely following this triangle pattern that it's currently in, descending trend line, ascending trend line. Gave us a nice bounce off of that Tuesday, pushed us to the upside, got us over the call entry into PT1 plus, but comma, there is this overhead trend line, 200 SMA right there with it under this bearish selling pressure here on NTS. So I'd say if it can break over 72.36, I think it looks good to make another run and could at least push to 75, 74, if not even higher. But we could also easily reject this trend line or this confluence up here of resistance, and that could pull us back down. Assuming this trend line holds here, then yes, we found the bottom for silver, because we're not going to print a new lower low without breaking that trend line, and that trend line has held up very well. So potentially the bottom's in. I think we'd have confirmation over 72.36 that likely the near term bottom is in, and we're opening up room to make another push to the upside. And again, as long as this lower trend line is holding, the bottom's in. But we haven't broken out of this triangle pattern, and we'd still want to see that give way to really open up upside opportunity on silver. What's up, Thug Baby Yoda? Good morning, buddy. How are you? Good to see you. What's up, New Trader and Space Ghost? Good to see y'all here. See y'all joined as we were working through our trade plans here. So yeah, like I said, silver, I think the bottom is potentially in, especially if this lower trend line holds. Then that should keep us moving to the upside, and we shouldn't revisit this low again. If that trend line gives way, well, then certainly breaking down and seeing that current low at 58.53 is certainly a possibility. So to be determined. Again, we've got a couple of scenarios that I think confirm that this was the bottom for silver in the foreseeable future. All right, Vail, we did this one last Thursday. So this one, what were we looking for on Vail? It's interesting that it was up above. I guess maybe we were doing a potential buy the dip setup on this. It's just interesting that it was above the call entry pre-market when we did this plan. Oh well, anyway, we are down below this call entry at 1731, back tested it from there. It's rejected, gave us a confirmation below on the put entry during the extended trading hours session after it reported earnings. That sent it to the downside down to PT2, where it has tried to find support. And it's trying to push back over PT1 here, but this one's got a lot of pressure overhead. And certainly, to me, looks like if it does get another test to 1655, that could be a good opportunity to go short or take some puts on Vail. Microsoft also under a bit of a downtrend here, and catching this daily demand zone down here, and it's been holding that and bouncing off of it. But again, this is kind of downward momentum that we're seeing for the most part here on Microsoft. Could even be, if we really zoom out, I take that back. I was gonna say something, but it doesn't even matter because I changed my mind. So Microsoft trying to hold on to the put entry level here as support, but seems to be dipping below it a bit here pre-market. So we could see Microsoft start to pull back here and go for some of these downside price targets before too long. Does have a daily demand zone down here, and we did get a nice bounce out of the upper range of that between 393.32 and 388. So watch that as a potential area to start buying up some Microsoft in your long-term portfolio. Eventually, when the market recovers, Microsoft will absolutely run, and it will do well. But we could see lower lows below this if we lose this daily demand zone. If that winds up being the case, again, I would just be smart about starting to build a position here, because if we lose that daily demand zone, well, then you're going to want to have dry powder to add some more down at this next demand zone in this 350 to 367 range. All right, last but not least, Palantir. This one, beautiful rejection here, confluence on the hourly chart. So we did this one last Thursday. It gave us the breakdown. This one printed, I know for you, Navy Plum in particular, 100% on puts. Gosh, within maybe an hour of the market opening or something like that. Please feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, and I don't know if 100% was the max or what your max profit was on those Palantir put contracts, but would love for you to share that with those in attendance this morning. Shows them what you get when you follow these plans, and what you get is some nice profits in most cases. From close to PT3, it did find a bottom and pushed all the way up to this call entry, where it set up another great short opportunity with this 200 SMA, 156%. That's what I love to hear, man. Good job. Keep crushing it. What's up, Ryan? Good morning to you. Apple, lots of data this week. Sure, we'll try to take a look at Apple. All right, so again, Palantir gave us a run up right up to that call entry. 200 SMA resistance. That was another beautiful rejection opportunity, and now it is breaking back below the call entry, or sorry, the put entry level, back testing it, and looks like it wants to head for PT1, maybe more. Sorry, I thought I might have spotted. If there is one, yeah, there's a potential uptrend here that it's trying to grab on Palantir, so keep that in mind. If it breaks below 132.25, well, then I think it does drop, and probably fairly rapidly. But if it bounces, could be a nice push. I feel like any bounces are going to be relatively limited, at least for the time being. Especially with these SMAs overhead, bearish, pointing down. There's a lot of pressure on Palantir right now. So anyway, things to keep in mind. All right, let's get to some new trade plans. PayPal trade plan. I don't, let me take a look. When was the last time I did? I just will look that I don't have that saved anymore, because I guess we did another one. Yeah, that's back from the 5th. So PayPal 4188 4020. Let's take a look. It's on this chart. There we go. So is this still a valid trade plan? We did this one a couple of Thursdays ago. Gave us PT1 for puts on that run. Definitely a nasty bull trap there. I mean, nice break above, nice back test, and then just to dump right back below and then reject that weekly resistance at that point. Nasty bull trap there. So is it still valid? I'd say yes. Mark these levels on your chart. You've got it's also in the elite chat, posted the plan with the plan levels back on February 5th. But yeah, I mean, if 200 SMAs coming down on it rapidly, I mean, these SMAs are diving hard on PayPal. So there could be, again, a confluence coming up here. Why'd you not just pick that? Right? That kind of keeps coming down, or even comes down like that. This breaks above that at the same time. Well, then, yeah, we could see some upside there. So anyway, just some things to think about. But yeah, I mean, I'd say the levels are still good. Plan looks valid. It was definitely under this bearish flag, which is, again, at least for me, would have given me some pause or caution. Buying that call entry, essentially, we're kind of, going against the grain a little bit. I want the trend to be my friend as often as possible. But the next break, we'd be in a very different scenario. So yeah, could, again, if it gets over that 200 SMA, gets over 4188, I think those call targets start hitting this time. Whoops, didn't mean to do that. All right, let's get to some new trade plans though. Let me get back to our chat. So what did we have? Okay, we talked about PayPal, we talked about silver. All right, give me some ticker requests, folks. I know Ryan gave me Apple, so we'll start on that while you guys figure out what we want to look at next. We still got about, oh yeah, that's right, you did mention FIG. Sorry, my bad, Theta. My bad, bro. Let's take a look at that. You're right. I didn't scroll up enough. All right. Big. They just reported earnings. For some reason, I have this 20. Oh, okay. That's why I had that on there. These were downside fib extensions that we drew. Yeah, probably back in January of this year. Curious to see how well they play. I mean, clearly we saw this level play out pretty nicely, but let's. Oh, actually, I know what I need to do. Sorry. I've changed how I set this tool up since I did this the last time. So let me fix that real quick. Style. I do want to extend right. Yeah. It's on the right. There we go. All right, so let's see how these fibs played out. Again, what we were doing with this is at this point we were pretty much at all-time lows for fib or fig. Sorry, fig, fig. So we're trying to project potential supports that have never been tested before. Moving on the way down this chart, and I mean, yeah, they worked pretty well, I'd say. But that being said, we've definitely put in some support and resistance since I last looked at this chart. Did report, gosh dang it, trigger fingers, trigger happy fingers, that's what I meant to say. So reported earnings last night, back above that low that we drew those fib extensions off of. And over the SMAs. But man, that ER gave back a lot of gains already here pre-market. Oh boy, so what are we gonna do with fib? Let's see. All right, well, we have support and resistance now, so for the time being, I'm going to hide that trend-based fib extension. I'm also going to hide these lines for now. All right, so let's take a look at this. Zoom out a little bit. I don't think we're going to find a lot in these higher time frames, but we'll see. Yeah, there's not a lot. I mean, I see some levels that look interesting, but we'll check these on lower time frames. This is all-time low. That would be worth making note of. All right, yeah, that's really all that we're gonna get. Oh no, I take that back. That's actually probably worthy of putting in that one as a weekly level up there at 67.38. What did this IPO at? Yeah, it ran all the way up to 142. Man, imagine buying that top. Good golly. That hurts. All right, so yeah, ran right up into this key sell area on NTS and then rejected on that here pre-market after reporting earnings yesterday. Let's check these out. I think that looks good as a daily level. Same thing with this one. And this one. No surprises there. That's kind of what I expected to see. Wherever they are, they won't hide for long. That's an interesting level. Check that on some smaller time frames. Can't make some sense of these. It's interesting. That level's probably really sitting up here. Call that your red alert. If it goes below that, Fig is in some serious trouble, in my opinion. No help there, huh? Yeah, nothing there. Okay. Man, this thing has some big fair value gap areas on it. It's not done a great job of building up really what I would call solid support and resistance, but that's okay. That's kind of like a blink and you'd miss it level there. Hmm. Sorry if I got a little quiet there for a second. I just deep in thought. Okay, so what do we want to do with this? First of all, we want to be cautious because it did just report earnings. Generally speaking, you want to operate by the 3-day rule, which is give it 3 days to let the dust from those earnings reports settle before you go getting too aggressive about taking any positions on it. So keep that in mind. Be really surprised. So 2485 could be a good buy the dip level potentially. Again, if the market abides, and again, Fig could always show, excuse me, good relative strength to the markets. That's always a possibility. As far as a stop loss, yeah, there's a small, quick little hourly level right about here. Yeah, we know. Let's take a look at those fib extensions now. Where does that set us up? What? Oh, that's a different set. I don't know what that's from. There we go. That's the one I was looking for. Mm, yeah, you know what? I'd want to draw a new set on this because we have put in a new low. So let's do that. And we've got a pretty clear. Should take us up to right about here. Yeah, I think it would be, we'd be getting ahead of ourselves to look for much lower than 1986 on this one. Yeah, I like those downside targets, entry, stop loss. All right, that all looks pretty good. All right, so if I don't see anything that tells me it wouldn't at least make a move back up to 28.10 over 26.86. Ah, interesting. Yeah, I think this did reject. There's an interesting level here. It's actually probably a little bit lower, like right, yeah, right about there. There at 29.16. Yeah, I'd be looking at this 30.07 level for price targets. All right, cool. Looks like a plan to me. Let's get this locked in. Let me clean this up. All right, so where is, there we go. All right, so we're looking for a break over 26.86. I think it's 10, 29.7. Stop loss average at 25.86, 24.85, 22.88. Whoops, 19.86. Share that stop loss. All right, cool. So let's clean this up. Oh, that's those fib extensions. There we go. All right, let's take a shot at this again. Be mindful that this is just reported earnings yesterday, so definitely going to be a bit all over the place, extra volatile in an already volatile market. So things to keep in mind. All right, so here comes your big live stream plan. Oops, oh, what the hell? Grab the wrong thing there. Copy the link. Yeah. So I can post this over in YouTube, and then of course in the elite chat. All right, got our link so we can set our alerts. Let's lock in our template. Give this one a week to work itself out. All right, so just to recap this real quick, what are we looking for here on FIG? We are looking for a break above 26.86. That should bring price targets at 28.10, 29.16, and 30.07 with a stop loss average down at 25.86. To the downside, we're looking for a break below 24.85. That should bring price targets at 22.88, 20.99, and 19.86 with a shared stop loss average down with that upside trade plan at 25.86. Those are your FIG live stream plans. FIG looks bullish. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it does overall look bullish, especially on the back of that earnings report. I would just say, again, caution because they just reported earnings, so could go all over the place before it picks a real direction. All right, let's get to Apple or Ryan. Interesting. So Apple is back testing call entry from a prior trade plan with a little help from the 200 SMA there at 20 or 262.19. All right, let's reset the chart first of all. Man, that could be a really good put entry opportunity. If it does lose that support, let's go into 260.01 minimum. Adjust this at all? The answer is no, not really. So let's go ahead and lock in that stop loss. Yeah, for the downside, Ryan. Yeah, I think below 262.19, this could see a dip. A pretty decent one at that. This price action on Apple's been chaos earnings. I was like, that seems a bit abnormal. That's why. Kind of what I was just talking about, that 3-day rule. All right. Potential support here, but I'm very, very skeptical of that. Support holding at 258.12. Definitely swept below this level. Was a gap level. I think that's a good PT3 for the downside. So where does upside start to look attractive? Got a pretty interesting downtrend on it currently. What are we gonna do with you, Apple? I'm just a little bit torn about where we should have this call entry at. It's definitely got a volatile range in here between this 266.15 and our put entry. The only problem I have with putting a call entry there, I guess we could share a stop loss with the downside plan. That's a nasty little sweep right there, though, that I'd just be a little bit concerned about. Hmm. I'm probably overthinking this. All right. Let's not overthink it. Let's take a shot. No, no, I'm gonna. Yeah, I've already talked myself out of it. I think it does need to be there. This needs to be the stop loss. That gives us a good PT1 here. So this is definitely a exercise some patience trade plan. You're going to want to chase, you're going to want to chase, but I don't think it really looks clear. I mean, obviously we could move up through this range, especially if it can reclaim the 333 SMA as support. It's still in some bearishness though here on the 2 hour chart. Let's take a look at the 1 hour as well. I want to see. Yeah, catching the top really nicely there. Again, I just want to give it that little bit of extra room so we don't get caught in a quick print above that then pulls back. So I'm going to stick to my guns on that one. Do like this as a second price target. And I like this as a third price target. All right, let's do it. So 270.02. 262.19, 260.12, and 255.23. All right. Excuse me. We don't need that anymore. I'll leave that trend line on the chart. All right, so let's hide those. Let's drop this on the chart. All right, cool. All right, here comes your. Yeah, close, Ryan. I want to give it a little bit more based on what I kind of talked about. I want to get caught in some kind of a sweep in this range. Still good risk reward to the upside over 267.88. All right, so that got posted there. Let's post it here. And of course, let's get this posted over in the elite chat. All right, and then let me grab the link. That's in, so let's lock in our template. Save, yes. Let's set our alerts. All right, so what are we looking for here on Apple? We're looking for a break below 262.19, and then I think it's heading for more downside down to 260.01, 258.12, and 255.23 with a stop loss average down at 264. To the downside, or to the upside, we're looking for a break above 267.88. That should bring price targets at 270.02, 271.83, and 273.90 with a stop loss average down at 266.15. Those are your Apple live stream plans. All right, we are getting pretty close. We're 15 minutes out, 14 minutes out now from market open. I know things are moving quite a bit here pre-market, so I'm probably going to take a little bit of extra time to get the SPY plan done and done correctly. I want to go ahead and give you all a heads up. We will have a live stream next Tuesday at 8:30 a.m. but there will not be a live stream next Thursday. I will be out of town going on a foodie trip down to New Orleans with my wife and a couple of other couples. So I will be out of pocket starting next Thursday, and then I'll be back the following Tuesday. I think that's like March the 3rd. Um, so again, we'll have a live stream Tuesday, but no live stream next Thursday. I'll remind you all of that again next Tuesday, and then we'll be back the following Tuesday on March the 3rd. I fly back in that Monday late night, so hopefully it's not too late that I can't get up bright and early and knock out one of these live streams as my first day back from vacation. So with that being said, as we always recommend here at Chart Talk Live and at Xtrades, plan your trades and trade your plans. Remember, we're looking for profits, not perfection. So keep those wins big, keep those losses small. Go out there, get some green, grow those portfolios. I will see you all in the chats, and I will see you here next Tuesday at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Until then,